Hey, everybody. Welcome back to Too Many Men. My name is Alison Lucan. I am overjoyed to be joined by two people who already did their homework. So this episode should be more productive than sometimes when we discuss playoffs. First and foremost, because she writes the best newsletters in the business and has already provided you with her picks and her takes, which are glorious. And we're going to see how close they are to coming true early on in this round one. It is the dynamic, compelling, powerful, and amazing Sara Sivian. Sara, how are you?
Oh my God, thank you so much. I'm good. I don't know if anyone can tell, like probably not on this grainy Zoom strain. Hello? Grainy Zoom stream. Okay, good morning. But um I have eyelid eczema for the first time in my life, and I think it's because I doubted the Buffalo Sabres. This is like my punishment from God. So if anyone has eczema tips, please let me know.
Well, someone who did not doubt the Buffalo Sabres, someone who's been on that bandwagon rightly for a while and is one of the best analysts, if not the best analyst in the biz. You should always check her out on the Jeff Merrick Show, among other places. It is Shayna Goldman. Shayna, say hi.
Hi.
You even dropped some more upcycles in the midst of writing every single must read NHL playoff preview known to man. How do you do it all?
I know.
I don't sleep. No, the 3 p.m. starts really benefit me this weekend because it gave me the morning to I don't want to look at a screen. I don't want to do anything else. No hockey, no nothing. And I think that's like the what saved me. But also some of it's been done. I just was waiting to drop it, and there's actually still more to come. I wanted to slow roll it this year. I
Ooh.
wanted to do it different.
And you have packages coming with other super secret
I'm very
projects.
excited about that.
We'll let that one sit for now. Friends, we are going to ditch our traditional format because it is the playoffs. As we told you, we were going to wait a little bit till things got going. And we actually decided to wait until at least one game in every series has been played before we graced you with our thoughts and opinions. But before we get to the NHL, there is still some really exciting races going on in the PWHL. Since we last recorded, Seattle and Vancouver have been eliminated and have activated the gold plan, meaning they are collecting draft order points. And the two teams met in an insane game this past Saturday where Vancouver storms back. Jen Gardner has 4 goals to win in overtime, but because it's not a regulation win, they're eliminated. And because Vancouver wins, Seattle, which had a 1 game advantage in terms of collecting gold plan points, only gets 1 instead of a possible 3. Selfishly, I'm hoping, as Seattle is just the second team in PW history to collect draft order points, which is crazy. There's still a race in the middle for that final 4th playoff spot. We'll see if Vancouver or Seattle can make a difference. They're going to face the 2 toughest teams. Well, not really. 2 of the 3 toughest teams in the PW for their final 2 games. Shayna, do you have a pick for who's going to get the 4th spot? I hope those 3 teams keep fighting so that they don't get eliminated, so that Vancouver and Seattle get to really fight it out for the top 2 draft picks.
Yeah, I mean, you look at the schedule and see it's New York against Toronto tonight, and both of those teams need the points, and obviously only one's going to get them. So that's pretty much going to
Well,
decide it
2 could
here.
get them.
This is true, but it does if New York
Right.
is
If New
going
York
to
doesn't
win, they
win, yeah,
need the
yeah.
three.
Yeah.
And that's the thing. If New York wins tonight, that's really going to hurt Toronto. But then again, Ottawa's playing Boston next, so I would love to just be like, yeah, I think it's going to be Ottawa. But then I look at their schedule, I'm like, but is it? Is it here? I'm going to go with them. I'm going to cheat. They are already in 4th. They have the edge. I'm going to say the Charge do it. They were pesky last year. I'm going to count on them to do it again this year.
Sara, your Boston Fleet, while they weren't having the best weekend facing Montreal a couple times, they might be in a better position again because Minnesota kind of threw away a game versus Toronto on the weekend. And now, as we said, Minnesota will travel out west to face the 2 expansion teams. Are we still believing in Boston, even though Montreal seemed to be the better team in these last 2 matchups they've had?
Yeah, they're just bored. Don't worry. Now they've made it interesting for themselves. We got this in the bag. I'm not worried.
Boston's still kind of my pick. Shayna, who's your pick right now?
I'm still going Boston. Like there are times I'm like, okay, you need a little more scoring to punch up the elite defense, the elite goaltending, but I love how they're playing this year.
And I love their coach. Like, okay,
Yeah.
what do you think of playing Levy in the second game versus Montreal?
Why not?
Sure. And Levy's very, very good, but do you not want Aaron Frankel in there?
I feel like I wouldn't want Montreal to just get too much of Erin Frankel either. I'd be like, save her, keep her fresh as possible because she has had a busy year, but also like don't let all of her tricks get seen by this team already, all of her tendencies. And it's like there's a ton of tape on her from having an elite season and from the Olympics. Like Montreal, Boston play each other. That is an Olympic matchup. We all know it, but I would want to try to hide those tendencies because I feel like we could see them playing each other at the end here.
Okay, here's my final galaxy brain theory. My previous galaxy brain no, it's a question. Does Poulin come back for Montreal? I mean, there's some big names out. Calty's out for New York.
Yeah.
Poulin's both of these players are currently out. Poulin's out for Montreal. But Montreal has home ice and the number 1 seed locked.
Could she come back for the playoffs?
That's what I'm saying.
I mean, Poulin on one leg is better than most players, right? Like, and we're gonna talk about this with someone else too, and we've had the same conversation before. But like, certain players at 50% or even 40% are better than the average player. That with enough time off, you could kind of see it, especially if she was able to play the gold medal game and come back for a second. Like, I feel like yes, maybe not immediately, but when they need her, it's like that's their breaking case of emergency, and we'll see how early they have to do that.
Interesting. Well, Sara, do you think Poulin comes back or no?
Oh my God, I had me clicking every single button possible. I don't worry, guys. I took my meds right before this, so in 20 minutes I'll be alert. But I think if she can, she absolutely will, and I agree that she's better than most. But I feel like I don't know if she could have. Maybe she already would have by now. But
interesting.
No doctor over here, per usual.
It's going to be interesting because Minnesota has the most firepower. Boston, I think, has the best coaching. And I'm going to say goaltending, potentially hot take.
Well, yes, please.
Yeah.
And then Montreal is just a powerhouse. So we'll see. My pick is Ottawa as well for the 4th team, by the way. Sara, do you have a pick for the 4th?
I like Ottawa. We have to give it to my subscriber in the group chat, Jenny, who went to the game instead of the Senators game, and she's getting eaten alive in my group chat right now, and I know she loves the pod. So we got to give her something, and we're going to give her the charge.
Dude, I'd go to the PW game for sure.
Yeah.
They're so fun.
Much more fun than that situation.
I also went up to Vancouver last week to catch the Golden Eyes Torrent game up there in person. If you ever have a chance to go, that building is so sick. Like anyone who's listening, just go up there. It's such a great vibe. And it's the only building that's fully branded to the PW team. And like,
that's so cool.
I'm debating posting this because it's ridiculous, but so they have like the player wraps around like pillars and stuff too. And so I had to take a picture with the Sophie Jakes wrap of the pillar.
It's so
you gotta post it.
Yeah.
Sophie. Anyway. Okay. So keep an eye on PW play. Again, there's still games coming, and then they go into the playoffs, which is still undecided and should be really, really exciting to watch while other teams start to get into the Layla Edwards, KK Harvey race for first overall pick. Who's your first overall pick right now? KK or Layla? KK? Yeah. But Layla's, I mean, if you don't get KK, it's not like you should be upset that you got Layla, in my opinion.
No, not at all. It's like superstar no matter what you're getting.
Valid.
The top 5 picks, honestly, it's like you're getting someone amazing.
Totally. All right. Are we ready to get into the other side of things, the men's side of the game? Are we ready?
Let's go.
Okay. Friends, we are keeping track of the WAG jackets as they slowly make their appearances in the wild. We are keeping track of them. We will have full analysis perhaps next week, or maybe we wait till after round 1 when there's not as many games to talk about, but we are keeping track. However, we did have some initial thoughts, and I'm going to say what I said to y'all before we hit record, which is I don't need Lauren Kyle to design everybody's WAG jacket, and I don't need every WAG jacket to be monochromatic with embroidery. I'm underwhelmed thus far. You two are much more effective and good at fashion evaluation. Your global thought so far based on what you've seen, Sara Civian.
Well, it's funny because the stars is my favorite with the like little Texas fringe, and that's the one. I mean, Lauren Kyle has basically been doing most of them, but that's like one that she did. So I'll give her props for that. I think, I mean, it's not her fault if they ask for something and she designs it, but obviously the same flair is pretty evident in each and every one of them. I think the discourse around the WAG jackets is getting a little losing the plot where people, to me, you listen, there's a way to say you don't like the jackets, and like let's talk about the jackets, not about if it means like the wags are terrible people because they like sad beige. Like, I don't know. I think I don't like sad beige, but it doesn't mean that they're like bad people. And it just seems like that's kind of where the discourse is going. And it's like alarming to watch and it's not fun. So
Shayna, that's a very important point, Sara. Shayna, your thoughts on the fashion of it all? And I assume that was a reference to the Boston jackets, which are just sad.
Favorite,
they're sad in color and execution. They don't even look high quality.
But I'm going to be patient till they have a home game because we are seeing a lot of teams have multiple jackets this year. I don't know how I feel about that part of it. Like I feel like per round, but it's like per game a different jacket. I like the continuity of it. Also, like as you know, you don't want extra waste, but that's just me being me. Okay.
WAG, send your used jackets to Shayna so she can upcycle them.
Keep in mind that some people clinched a playoff spot like a day or a week before the playoffs. Like it's not that easy.
But I wrote a story on this, and like respectfully, the partners are talking about this, like understanding that they may not be executed. Like they're thinking, they're not waiting till they're not like, oh my God, they just clinched. We should, like they are thinking about this and they have things in place.
If the Flyers can pull it off, I feel like anyone can, but we haven't fully seen yet because they haven't had a home game. But no, I think the part about Lauren Kyle's brand doing so many of them, we're seeing so many similarities, and like I like the messiness of these jackets and the creativity and the flair that we see. And I think it's such a cool way to spotlight all different small businesses and smaller designers. And, you know, you think about the Dallas Stars, and I'm sorry for not having the artist names at the moment. Next week, I'll be more prepared. But when they had their painted jackets, and that was the same designer who's doing stuff for the Capitals, you know, it was cool to see different opportunities spread up because of it. And I think even just this year alone, we've seen creative looks along the way. Like the Rangers Winter Classic, they were reversible jackets. And it was someone who had done like Dodgers and Yankee jackets, if I remember correctly. And it was like this cool patchwork look that looked like it was made out of jersey. So obviously that's like my style, and I found that exciting. So seeing a lot of the same, you're like, okay, not as exciting here. But then again, there's a wearability factor to a lot of these jackets that I think that you could wear them throughout the next season easily and just keep them in rotation because they're subtle enough. So I do like that as well. I do think, Sara, what you said, the Stars one's really sharp, and I think the Oilers one's too, but it's like, it's a little
like the Oilers ones at all.
I see. Like for my personal style, that's something I would want to wear, but I want things punched up a little bit more here. But then again, you know, here it is. They're all jackets that I feel like hopefully we'll see in rotation next season for just random games. They're not, because some of the jackets you see, it's like, well, they're not going to wear that on a regular basis to a game. So it's like a hit or miss kind of thing. But obviously we'll get into the specifics next week because we need to see everyone at home debut their jackets, because I feel like what you see for game one is going to be like the focal point.
Fair. And I will say the one shout out I'll give is on the Carolina jackets that they have the little hurricane flag detail.
That is perfection. That is the one little detail.
I love that
like
jersey.
That jacket. Like, I'm sorry. I don't like the color red. Fucking sue me. Jesus, should I go to jail? I'm not cool enough? Like the comments are literally like I would just do this better. Like, all right, go date a hockey player then and get your jacket, or just make a jacket. Like, God, I like maroon better than red.
I love the jacket. My problem is what if they end up playing the Avs? Like that's like
we'll have different jackets by then at this rate.
I love the jacket.
True.
I love it. I just feel like if the point is to represent your team, it didn't need to be red, but it needed to have a little more red. Okay, I'm going to float one more theory for you. from a brilliant friend of the pod, but I do not have their permission to say their name. So if they are listening, they will know who they are. But a brilliant friend of the pod recently put out that they would like to see perhaps no more jackets. Perhaps part of why we're all annoyed is because this is a little played out. Like, what if we ventured into like accessories or like boots or like things like this? How do we feel about certainly celebrating the playoffs with attire, but maybe veering away from the jacket genre?
Yes. Can I just
Boo-boos.
There we go. That's creative. Okay, in seasons past, we have seen this a little bit. Like, I know Statement Threads last year, there were claw clips with player names on there, and like the t-shirts, it's Hillary Churchill. She does like a lot of embroidered t-shirts with the player names and hats and stuff for the kids. So that like gets away from just the jacket, so you can have like a full look. And obviously, we've been seeing a lot of sweatshirts. Her brand does it. Bro Denim is another one that does. But last year, I remember some players on the Stars had boots that were really interesting.
That'd be sick.
There's a creator out there. I will be prepared next week with
We
all of
said
this
we're doing this for
information.
real next week.
Yeah.
And I have derailed us.
But like she used jerseys to create different boot looks, which is really cool. And with bags, obviously you run into like the clear bag policy for some, but there are designers who make clear bags and embellish them. I know Sydney Martin has worn those before, and I will check her Instagram for the links back to the designers who do that. But like as someone who obviously I make a bunch of crap, I love the idea of bags because you don't always want a jacket, and it just is something like that can be a little bit more subtle. So I'm all about that. I definitely want to see more bags, especially since you can have a small bag, like I don't know, a fanny pack that
Who's to say
that has a little bit of flair and a nod to it, that it can be worn a little bit more consistently instead of just going for like the clear bag with the strap. I think that we're seeing all these different creators out there all around push the limits with sports designs in recent years, and it's so exciting. So yes, you can definitely get away from jackets and do something really fun and have pieces that you can then start like pairing together. So you have this like really cool outfit without it just being everyone wearing the same jacket, because obviously there are only so many paths you can go with that.
Sara, other than the boo-boos, other thoughts?
That's all I got. I mean, anything we've already done, Shayna's already done. And I think that's a great idea. And I think people need to remember it's just a jacket, and that like this thing kind of took a life of its own, but it's supposed to be fun. And if you're not having fun evaluating it, like maybe you don't have to.
Exactly. We don't have to have an opinion on everything. If it doesn't interest you, let it live its best life elsewhere. All right.
Shit, the jeans. That's what I just remember. Raquel's wife wore
I like
jeans.
Okay, like did you see who had the custom jeans for the sirens at the MSG game?
I saw this.
Yep. Those were
that was
sick.
iconic.
Yeah,
that was iconic.
I love the idea of the painted jeans.
Those jeans were fire.
And then like bedazzled down the seams. Yep. I have an idea on something I want to fuck with. When I saw the painted jeans, I'm like, wait, I would like to try my hand at upcycling a pair of pants with jersey inserts. And now that like it's something I kind of forgot about, and then I'm like, oh, I know I have an idea on this, because like you said, like go for something different. The jeans for those walk-ins were so cool. Those Sirens jeans.
We also were supposed to get too many men jackets like 3 years ago. Remember that?
We never landed on what we wanted to do.
No, you said we just had to order the jackets, and you knew what you were going to do.
We had to order what? Did we decide on?
We ordered the jackets.
We ordered the jackets. Okay. Well, listen, name the day, especially now that we have the merch is improving, and also we will officially have a new merch site. It's built. I'm doing the finishing touches so we can ship globally, because we were limited to just the US. It is absolutely coming. I know we've been teasing it a lot, but like it's built. It's ready.
Okay. We love it. We appreciate it. Thank you for your service. Okay. Enough on
Send
the
me
jackets.
The jackets. I will do it this spring.
Okay. We will cycle back on the WAG jackets and our jackets for real next week, maybe ish. But here we are. It is time. And again, this was intentional by us. We wanted to see at least one game from every series. We know we have seen some game twos. We acknowledge that. We are not stupid. It is time, my friends, to discuss thanks to Chris Lemon, the Too Many Men Cup. That is
Amazing.
the prize for which one of us picks the best bracket through. And lest you think that we are cheaters or liars, Sara has already published her picks in her Substack. And I know Shayna put out a couple picks. We're going to see which dog she sides with here on this one. And I'm going to put out my picks, even though the series has already started. We are not swayed by early results. We're going to go through each series one by one, talk about what we're liking, what we're seeing so far, and then we will end with our predictions of who wins and in how many games. I think we should start, my friends, with a series that had perhaps the most dynamic game yesterday. We're recording on Tuesday, so this was Monday, and that was the double overtime win by the Carolina Hurricanes that puts their series at 2-0 over the Ottawa Senators going into this one. I don't think it's starting to gain more traction, but I don't think people realize that. To me, this is like a little brother playing big brother, in the sense that these are two teams that are very aggressive defensively and very good at shot suppression and play tight. And so it's kind of fun to see how they play off of each other. And then there's some interesting choices happening in goal. Sara, I know you have history with knowing things about how Carolina plays, and we've all been watching Ottawa kind of start to try and ascend to be a perennial playoff contender. What are your thoughts about this specific series?
Yeah, I mean, it's textbook exactly what we thought it would be. Like, we feel sometimes you watch hockey, like, you make these theories and you're like, am I just going along? Are we all just going along with what each other is saying? You know what I mean? Like, why are we all saying this about this one team? It's like an existential crisis for me, especially when it comes to fundamentals, right? So you hear, oh, the Senators and the Hurricanes play like each other. Yeah, they play defense, they suppress shots. Is this just kind of, I don't know, but these two games like really have showed us that we were correct in our analysis, right? And that the Hurricanes are kind of just playing a more mature, deeper version of that. And that's really a small margin of, okay, Logan Stankoven exists, Taylor Hall exists, the second line that surpass the first lines of these teams neutralizing each other exists. And then there's Brady Tkachuk isn't getting lucky. Like, there's certain shots he could have made that could have gone in, right? Like, it's kind of by inches, but this is the hardest opponent the Hurricanes have had. It's funny because they're the one seed for the first time in franchise history, but it is the hardest opponent they've had in the first round in 5 years, and they're sticking it to them. Allmark's playing great, but it's just a matter of like that elevated depth.
Shayna, goaltending, certainly a topic in this one. Allmark has had ups and downs, warranted and unwarranted criticism on and off the ice this season. And then Carolina perhaps goes with the goaltender maybe some didn't expect. What are your key factors for this series between Ottawa and the Hurricanes?
Yeah, did not see Frederick Anderson as the game one starter, but then again, he has had good playoff experiences with the Canes, and Bussy's game fell apart after the Olympics. Like, he could barely string together a couple quality starts. So it makes sense. I think both of them have been outstanding here, but it's funny. I fully expect Bussy or Kochetkov to start a game in this series in game 3 or 4. And I think back to last year against the Islanders. I think it was round 1 against the Islanders. The Canes switched their starter when they were ahead in the series. Maybe it was 2-1 at the time. And they were like, yeah, we're just going to keep everyone fresh. Like, okay, sure. Allmark's been fantastic, though. I think he's been everything and more to the Senators. But it comes down to, like Sara said, the depth of the forward group, because we have like 3 series right now that feel like that big brother, little brother. And it's Tampa, Montreal, it's Edmonton, Anaheim, and it's Ottawa, Carolina. But the difference, it really does come down to the forward depth, because while the Senators have a second wave, which they didn't have before, and the Cousins line helps, and having Pinto, it still isn't at the heights of what the Canes have. And that's okay. You see how they're building for it, but it just feels like if they had one more forward at the top of their lineup, someone that would knock Brady Tkachuk into that like second or third slot instead of being the guy, I think would be a big difference here. And then you see it in the first 5 minutes of game 1, right? Like, he fights, ends up in the box. The Canes are actually not generating shots. This is Ottawa's chance to put their stamp on this series very early on the road, and they're just not finishing their chances or getting good enough looks. And you're like, yeah, because the player who should be leading the charge on that is sitting in the penalty box. So it just feels like Ottawa is behind a step and they have to work that much harder to be in these games, right? Like if they were going to win yesterday, it was in double overtime, while the Canes do it in regulation in game one. So that's going to be the separator here in that series, I think.
All right. So, Sara, your pick for the Ottawa Carolina series, who wins and in how many games?
I had Hurricanes in 7 in my article. I guess
Okay.
Hurricanes in 5 now.
Cool. Okay. Shayna,
I had Ottawa originally, and then after game one, I like swapped it when Zub
we
got
said no
hurt. I
swapping.
know. Well, the bracket, once it was like your bracket was locked, before it was locked, I was like, right after game one, Zub got hurt, and I was like, Senators are done. But I'll stick with it because Mika was very confident. She was like very obsessed with home ice and then swerved on Ottawa and like literally sniffed the Canes treat and was like, nope, and took the Senators. So I'll stick with my pick in her honor.
How many
That's
games?
7 games for Ottawa.
Okay. I'm taking Carolina in 6. Okay. All right. Let's stay in the East for a series that involves two surprise teams that made the postseason and now perhaps early. The first 2 games are again a surprise, and that is the Flyers playing Pittsburgh. Pittsburgh all season, we kept talking about how no one expected them to be in the playoffs. They continued to prove us all wrong. And now 2 games in, riding on the back of Porter Martone, apparently, the Flyers have a 2-0 lead, starting with 2 road wins, which is huge. And perhaps most concerningly, shutting out the Penguins, if you're a Pittsburgh fan, in that second game. Sara, going into this, I'm going to admit, I thought this was going to be easy for Pittsburgh. I thought they had more experience. I thought they had more consistent play throughout the season. They obviously have high-level star talent. What are the variables for you in this series going in and now 2 games in?
Yeah, I mean, I am on board with what you thought. That's what I thought too. I thought, oh my God, it's Crosby's last run. He's going to be disappointed about what happened in the Olympics and he got hurt and he's fine and he's back. And it like, if this situation, it didn't fall into his lap, right? Like, but he worked hard for it and you might as well take one more swing. And then there's like, oh, the Flyers really didn't expect to see this coming until the last second, and then they're in, and then there's like this 19-year-old kid. Like, okay, I guess, yeah, I can't believe how well this new young group of Flyers is neutralizing some of these veterans, especially Crosby. Like, he doesn't have a point. He's taken 2 stupid penalties, and it's alarming.
Shayna, in terms of youth being stupid and perhaps therefore playing more free versus the Flyers maybe not truly being ready for this opportunity, but now making the most of it, are the Flyers for real? What did you want to watch going into this series?
The Flyers definitely look like they're for real here. Listen, I picked the Penguins. You look at 2 potential dark horses in this postseason. We all knew it was Carolina or Philly, and I felt like I was getting too cute, being like, well, the Penguins could have this last dance moment because they were so good in the regular season. And I wondered if the momentum swing of like this playoff push, because it's a younger team, like if it would kind of start coming apart here, like here you made it to the playoffs after being in the mix for the last couple seasons and then it just not working out in the end because the team was sticking to the plan. Like, would this be okay? They got here and then they kind of hit a wall. Well, absolutely not. So I'm completely wrong on this one, no matter what. But it feels like the Flyers' neutral zone play has been so impressive, the way that they're slowing the Penguins down, especially in game one. And it feels like the Penguins were doing better getting control entries in game two, but you can just see how disruptive the Flyers play. Pair that with the Penguins' power play looking completely out of sync, really slow, and all of the Chris Letang struggles that I think we kind of knew were going to be a thing here, right? Like, it felt like Brett Kulak fixed him. They made a trade because they were thinking big picture and bringing Sam Girard, but it's just like Girard can't play to his strengths if he's also making up for where Chris Letang lapses. And you just see where the series is coming off the rails for the Penguins. And the Flyers somehow look like the calm, cool, collected team when they're not the veteran group. So definitely not what I anticipated here, but it's even more interesting because of that. It looks like the Penguins are frustrated and the Flyers are just here to be pesky, disrupt things, and don't give a shit.
All right, Sara, your picks for Philadelphia at Pittsburgh.
Yeah, I guess I have to stick with what I had. I had Penguins in 7. At least I didn't have them in fewer than that, but it's not looking like they got anything.
Shayna, you said Pittsburgh. How many games?
Yep. 7.
Yep.
And yep.
Yep.
Also, the choice to wear the piss jerseys.
I know they deserve to suffer.
It's like I looked at it, I was like, okay, you're gonna wear something bright and different. Because if you make it to round 2, you're going up against a team that wears black. Like for the aesthetics, cool. But I'm also like, this is the worst version of the yellow jersey they've come up with. And also, why?
Well, they're going to have to pay the price. We'll see what comes of it because that was their choice. Let's keep going here in more surprising. I don't know if it's surprising. It is Montreal at Tampa Bay. We're obviously going through the East first, kids. Montreal comes back and wins in OT over Tampa after a crazy ass penalty at the end of regulation, gives Montreal the skater advantage. But I'm just going to galaxy brain this a little bit and say, does anyone not remember that Josh Anderson loves to play Tampa Bay in the postseason? And who was a consultant the year that the Blue Jackets and the aforementioned Josh Anderson victory tour went on? Well, that was Martin St. Louis, who knows what playing Tampa Bay does to Josh Anderson and his ability to forecheck and also score. Montreal is up in this series 4-3. Crazy ass penalty. Crazy ass win for Montreal. Sara, this series, I think it would be easy for people to say, oh, of course, Tampa Bay, blah, blah, blah. Montreal's still building. What do you think about this series going in? It's obviously early.
Yeah, I think like when it goes into overtime, you're like, this is the brand of Canadiens hockey. They're going to win and it's going to be big game motherfucker, like for lack of a better term. I just love him. This guy, like the beast, like you don't see power forwards like this maybe ever. Like I just love him. I think they have gained so much confidence so early in their window. They kind of willed it to be a window in itself, if you think of it. Like it was a little ahead of schedule. And then even going into this season, people were like, it'd be fine but they were just like, no, we're going to keep going and be really good. And if you give something to them, they're going to take it. Like, that's why I really love this Habs team. Like, they're really, I don't want to say happy go lucky because it's obviously a lot of high end talent and a lot of hard work. But if you don't dominate against them, they're going to beat you. So, like, when it gets to an overtime situation, like, you know what's happening.
Shayna, obviously the power play huge in this one with 3 of the goals coming for Montreal on the power play, Tampa Bay converting just twice. What do you think about the importance of special teams in this series specifically?
Well, hold on. About your Josh Anderson point, it's so funny when we were watching and he has the first goal and then he scores the second goal before it was over.
With high stick, yeah.
Yeah, I turned to Rich and I'm like, he was on that Blue Jackets team that swept the Lightning. I wonder how many points he had in that series. I'm like, don't let me forget to look that up. And then, of course, in the moment, I did not look it up because there was too much going on. But yeah, that point about Marty St. Louis being the consultant too, that is a very important one. But special teams is huge here because Tampa Bay's power play could be better. I think that's what we've been saying for the last 2 years. Like the potential's there, but they're not playing well enough. But Radish has a bomb of a shot and he gets that power play goal there after the Anderson no goal and the penalty, which you would think for a young team would have been that swing of momentum that crushed them. So credit to the Canadiens. But Slavkovsky has been so dominant this year at the Olympics, in the regular season. There's all these little details of his game that are just coming together to make him this like incredible power forward. And to score on the power play is huge. You can't rely on that moving forward, right? Because we know how this goes. Penalties don't get called as often as games go on, as series go on. But it was massive in this game, and it feels like it really could be on both sides moving forward.
And Cole Caulfield hasn't even done anything Cole Caulfield-esque yet, so we'll wait to see.
Just a nice assist. I was told he only scored goals.
Only 50 of them. Sara, what is your pick for this series?
I had Lightning in 6.
Okay.
I like, who's to say, genuinely, but I guess I'll say I'm not going to change at this point the person I think is going to win, but I could change the amount of games. So I'll say Lightning in 7.
Okay. Shayna, your pick.
Yeah, I also had Tampa in 6, and now seeing, I think Pierre LeBrun tweeted out that Victor Hedman might not return at all this series. I'm a little bit more concerned, but since I have to stick with my picks, I will say Tampa in 6.
I had Tampa in 7, and I will stick with that. All right. We saved the best for last, and that is the Golden Children, the return to the playoffs after 400, it's been 3 million years or whatever the quote is. The Buffalo Sabres, Sarbies, whatever you want to call them, are back in the playoffs. And it looked like they might lay an egg. They were actually getting booed by their home team. But then in the first game, they come back. They explode in the third period with 4 goals. Of course, Boston does get a late goal, but by that, it was already over. The Sabres are back, at least right now. I'm not going to lie. Sentimentality purposes, I want them to win this series. But Sara, for you, what was going in your deciding factors for this one?
Yeah, sentimentality purposes, you say the magical thing about a situation like this. I watch that game, right? And I'm thinking, I mean, if I'm a Sabres fan, thank God you got home ice advantage. Thank God you didn't just say the playoffs are enough and I'm going to stop there, right? Because the crowd absolutely factored into that win. Like, the crowd was one of the craziest things I've ever seen, like it was. And you look at, like, you're down 0-2, you need that crowd to help you rally. And then the way it all happened, and then the empty netter from Buffalo's very own. I just think it's not going to be perfect. It was never going to be perfect, right? But it was what it needed to be. I had Sabres in 7 in the beginning, and I am keeping up with that.
There you go. We got the pick at the same time too. Shayna, what are the variables for you? I mean, good for Boston. This was a team we didn't think would be in the postseason. And so it's unfortunately kind of easy to pick the Sabres for a lot of reasons.
Yeah, I had the Sabres going into this, but you could see Boston just being this total wild card in the series. I think you look at their play down the stretch, like they have this dominant run against all these playoff teams. And you're like, holy shit, even if it is Jeremy Swayman propping them up by a lot, but then they stumble the next little stretch and you're like, oh yeah, because your defense is still terrible. So the game, you see like the Sabres come out with all that energy, right? They're so physical, and then Boston just quiets them down. And I think maybe the most impressive part of it is like the way the Sabres won is the way I would expect the Bruins to steal a game in this series. And we kind of saw that happen at the end of the regular season. They had that game that went to overtime. Boston can score a late one, they can be pesky, and the Sabres are the one to do it, to completely flip the switch, to have the energy. And it wasn't just, oh, they're scoring goals. The way that they were back checking, the way that they're clearing the puck out of the defensive zone, all of that, you're like, okay, this team still has the juice. They have that momentum that they were able to generate themselves, which is so important because it's a team that has won a lot of games by scoring first. And I think that was really, really, really promising for them here. Obviously, it's one game. Who knows what's going to happen from here? But I think that was maybe the most promising way to win a game without just totally dominating in game one, which I think too could have gone to people's heads, and then who's to say what would happen after that. I am going to stick with my original pick. I think that was Sabres in 7, because I think we're getting a game 7 back in Buffalo. That would be absolutely electric.
All right. I am going to go Buffalo in 7 also, because I had 6, but your sweet swayed me with we should have a game 7 in Buffalo. All right, let's swing over to the West, and we'll go in terms of order of most games played. And that means we start with Minnesota and Dallas, the series that everyone was expecting to be the best 2 elite teams in the Central this season. And just like everyone expected, Minnesota takes the first game 6-1, but there is no doubt in Jake Ottinger per the head coach. And as reward, last night, Dallas comes back and wins 4-2, tying the series at 1-1, lest people forget. All the Dallas beat reporters were reminding everyone that Dallas has a knack for losing games 1 and coming back to win series. Sara, this is perhaps the tightest of the first round matchups. What are you looking for?
Yeah, it's interesting because obviously the Stars come out like that with a lack of offensive push in game 1. And we're like, oh, is this not going to be a close series? But I think it's going to be close. I wrote about this today, that it's like close in a different way, where we're going to get a game 7 and we're going to be like, who the hell? None of these teams are going to know who's going to win. Nobody on earth is going to have a good sense of who is going to win the game 7. It's like, this is more about, these are 2 of the best NHL teams playing off in round 1. So I think it's hard to say this in a way that doesn't feel cliche, but I don't know if, like, you guys understand, like, do you understand what I mean when I say more than any other teams and matchups, it's more about who has more momentum each night and who, it's like, it's so stupid. If you score first, yes, you're more likely to win because you scored a goal, right? That's why I don't like those narratives in most situations. But I genuinely think who scores first and sets the tone, or at least who has the momentum early on, is going to win each and every one of these games. Like there's not going to be like comebacks.
Yeah, I've spent so much time thinking about intangibles this year, and I think when you're evenly matched like this, or when you're maxed out at talent, or what you can produce in terms of what the skill level is, it's that extra oomph, right? That can be the difference maker, and it can be a deciding factor. Shayna, what's your thought process going into this one? Again, perhaps the tightest matchup of the entire playoffs for now.
Yeah, because it shouldn't be around one matchup.
Yes, it should.
Well, agree to disagree on this one. I would say like number one factor for this was starting out, was the injuries, right? Would Miro Hayes going to play game one because he's been incredible, and also Thomas Harley has had a lot of ups and downs, and we saw that in game one. The Rupe Hintz factor too, because with Hintz in the lineup, it puts Duchesne on the third line. Dallas's deep approach, their best weapon, is at its strengths, considering what's happened this year with so many different injuries. And then obviously the Wild lose Zuccarello for game two, and he was one of their better players in game one. But there's so much with this series, I think, because we all expect the Stars to go play the Avs. And I think a lot of us are just like, yeah, it's a coin flip, but also Dallas will probably play the Stars again. I mean, the Avs again. And the Wild, the way they played game one was so impressive to be like, no, this is not the Wild of years past that's just gotten out every year in round one. But I would say it's going to come down to goaltending. For a lot of the series, Jake Ottinger did not look very great in game one. I think the team in front of him was even worse. And then the Wild shake it up and go with Wallstedt instead of Gustafsson, which I think would have been the easier choice of just he's the more experienced guy. But I think Wallstedt earned the start, especially with this play down the stretch. And he has looked really solid since. But the player from Minnesota that I feel like is generating more attention than you would have anticipated, because you look at that roster and go, oh, it's going to be Kaprizov, it's Quinn Hughes, is Brock Faber. And if he keeps playing at this level, I think he has been like the standout for the Wild through the first two games. Like, I'll be shocked if this doesn't go 7.
With that in mind, Sara, who's your pick?
I got Stars in 7, and I'm sticking with it. I think the bounce back from Ottinger, not that he even, I mean, it's so annoying because it's annoying to have to say that a goaltender didn't have a bad game in a 6-1 loss, but it's kind of the truth. And like, if I'm Ottinger, I'm annoyed at the rest of my team for not scoring early on, but he bounced back, and that was crucial. And I think the story Emily Kaplan did with Ottinger like really showed how much his teammates love him. So I don't know. I like the bounce back. I couldn't tell you though, but I'm going to say Stars in 7.
Shayna, your pick.
I'm going to stick with Stars in 7.
Yeah.
Yep, I'm the same. All right. I regret to inform you that we now must talk about the series that I truly don't care about. Can we just move on from the Kings and the Avs? I don't care. Sara, do you?
No, I think let me say, I think the Kings gave their best effort in that game, and we're doing that Oilers game that turned everything around just a few games early. Like, they're cooked. Bye. They did all their tricks. Even Panarin scored. Didn't work.
Shayna, do you care?
No, they had me first period. I'm like, this game actually could be good. This could be interesting. And it just fizzled out. By the third period, you were like, this is over. And it's unfortunate. It just is the reality.
Kings, we give you the congrats you tried trophy, but we don't give you the round. I think we all three agree that it's Colorado. It's just a matter of how many games. Sara, what's your pick?
Avs in 4.
Okay. Ooh, Shayna?
I'm gonna say 5.
Okay.
I will say one dog did pick the King. Kona was confident. She's like, the Kings are the upset. And she's like, I'm like,
wow, her voice is heard.
I know.
She's like, let the world know.
I'm going to also go Avs in 5 just to give the Kings one win as a treat. All right. Now we're back to more interesting hockey, and let's go to Utah, Vegas. John Tortorella is the bench boss. He remains undefeated except for one game to your Seattle Kraken. And we saw how that turned out. But here we are with the Avs and the Utah, I can't even say it right. However, the shirt was misprinted. The Wath Mammoth. If you don't know what I'm talking about, you're just not on social media. The Wath Mammoth and the Vegas Golden Knights get to work and the Golden Knights take the first game 4-2. Sarah, what are you watching for in this one?
Guys, so
Yes.
I was watching the Celtics, had a few drinks, and I bet $50 against Carter Hart. I should have just donated it to domestic violence, and I will be doing that if for each game he starts in from now on.
I love that.
Why did I bet against him? Now I'm mad that he played well. I'm extra mad. I don't have that money. Whatever. That was stupid. Don't drink and gamble, people. Don't do that. So that sucks. I'm annoyed. I think Torts, who's better to be the annoying coach that is making them look good. I think he's Carter Hart is 7-0-0 under Torts. This sucks.
This is a good point. Let's talk about this offline. We'll circle back next week. Maybe we make some donations to a foundation in support of sexual assault survivors for every Carter Hart win. Shayna, your thoughts on this series?
Yeah, that element of it has been frustrating, especially the way it has been like painted by the broadcast. Don't love that.
Truly. He doesn't need a redemption story, people.
No. Can I have my Miko incident of the day? I actually have one that I think you're gonna love in particular, Allison. I am someone that is very critical of sports broadcasts. It's because I want it to be better. I think if you want more people to watch hockey, like the quality of the broadcast has to somewhat reflect the quality that we see on the ice. And I feel like there are a lot of gaps. Big thing with the playoffs is that round one, there's still home broadcast, but everything is national.
Right.
And it's obviously always going to be hard for national people to capture what goes on the day-to-day of an 82 game season.
Sure.
You can't like the regular broadcasts do. And I don't like how much the broadcasts are like splitting the time. Like ESPN has Ray Ferraro going between Pittsburgh and Buffalo. And this is not
crazy.
It's insane.
It's not a knock on Ray Ferraro at all. It's a knock on the system in that if you're coming in for this playoff series and you want
consistency of coverage, yes.
Right. Because if you're traveling back and forth, you're not at all the practices. You're not now getting all the little details you need to paint the best picture of this series.
You're not setting your broadcasters up for success.
No. And it's like, it's already that you're at a disadvantage. And I say this as a national person who does not do the day to day, but I'm not the primary person who's going to write about Stars Wild, right? Like there's 3 writers doing that. And whatever I do is going to be secondary from a different perspective. And I think that perspective is nice to have, obviously, because I want a job. But if you're putting out your ESPN, the broadcast, the sports broadcast gold standard in theory, then I would just like to see it that not everyone's time is split so they can take the time to do the stories and let them thrive within each series. So that's my rant of the day. For this series in particular, I feel like Vegas found their footing a lot in the third period. I think their forward check looked really good. I think that they kind of thrived off the environment, the physicality of everything. I think at times Utah got a little too cute with their puck movement. And I was saying this right before they scored their first goal too. And yes, I want to see them crush it off the rush, move the puck a ton, play to their strengths. But I also think they need to shoot the puck a little bit more. And I felt like that kind of bit them at the end here. I really like their chances in the series because they have the foot speed to get behind Vegas's defense. And there's some aging players on Vegas, like outside of Marner and Eichel, you don't look at this team and go, and Theodore and go, that's a fleet of foot team. So I think that there's an opportunity here for Utah, but that first loss, I think, is a big lesson of like, hey, this is how it goes. You have to expect Vegas to heat up as the game goes on.
I agree. I think that there's an experience factor. You know, Sarah, we just talked about momentum. This is a different kind of momentum. And this is they're a skilled Utah team, but they're such a young team. We'll see. All right. What's your pick, Sarah, for this series?
I have the Golden Knights in 6 or 5. Yeah, I always did, and I don't like it. I don't know why I bet against it. Because I thought I was like saving the world, but I didn't save the world. I lost $50, and I hate this team even more.
They're gonna win. Shayna, your pick.
Utah in 7, actually.
Oh,
One dog has Utah going to the Stanley Cup final, so I'm like, all right.
I have Vegas in 6. All right. We have one more series. This is another one where, I mean, maybe next year or in a couple of years, it's more compelling, but we still have a baby team that has no defense. And that's the Anaheim Ducks going against an old team that has no defense, and that's the Edmonton Oilers. And the Oilers take the first game in the series 4-3. Sara, what are your storylines for these two teams going into round one?
Someone called this the dish soap series because it's Oilers and Ducks, and I just thought that was hilarious.
That's hilarious.
Yeah, no deep. It's the Ottawa Senators and the Hurricanes are no offense, just vibes. This is no defense, just vibes. And I just love that it's working out like that again, right? Like it's the narratives are narratives for a reason. We aren't just making shit up, some of us to some degree. I this happened exactly like I thought it would, right? Like you could just like, yep, I think the Oilers are going to go up 2-0 and then the Ducks are going to come back and then the Oilers are going to win.
Shayna?
I love this series. This is my chaos series.
Yeah.
I want all offense. And I think like in the beginning of the game, you looked at it like the shots were maybe 15-8 for the Oilers. And it was like, and the Oilers had the lead. And it's like, yeah, because they're, or maybe it was a 2-2 game at the time, but it's like the Oilers, you don't have to get a ton of shots on them to potentially score goals because the goaltending isn't the most stable, but the Ducks are going to allow those chances against. And I think the young guys looked great for Anaheim last night. Actually, it was the veterans I had a little bit more of an issue with. I think that fourth line got way too much ice time. I was seeing way too much of like Veal and Washi, and I'm like, can Leo Carlson and Troy Terry just stay on the ice tonight? But you saw some of the giveaways from Kreider, and I think Gudis and Trouba didn't have the best games. But Edmonton, the return of Leon Draisaitl was the X factor here. I'm sure we will have a Connor McDavid game, especially the way he played down the stretch, but we always do. But Draisaitl, I think the timing wasn't perfect because he's missed so much time, but you could just see the way he was entering the zone throughout the game, the power in which he does it to hold possession and keep defenders back is so impressive. And I literally kept noting down different times him doing the same exact play. And then here it is on the game winner. Past Lacombe, past Carlson, total force. And you see it, that line that has a lot of chemistry from last postseason earlier this year with Kapanen and Podkolzin just looked great. So, I mean, that was like a veteran win in so many ways, right? Like never count out the Oilers till the very last second. Good on the Ducks for staying in the game and making it interesting. And I think that they have a lot to learn from this series, no matter what happens here. But that defense needs a lot of work.
Sara, your pick.
I have the Ducks in 7 because I'm just like, I didn't think Draisaitl, like didn't know about his status, but he had that really good assist that was important and he looks fine. He said himself he has some rust, but it's not like an active injury, doesn't seem. So, I mean, would I change that in hindsight? Yes, but I don't want to because I really want the Ducks to go. So I'm just going to keep Ducks in 7.
I love it. Shayna, your pick.
Edmonton in 6.
Nice.
And I had Edmonton in 5. So there you go. All right, kids. The playoffs have started on the men's side. They're about to start on the women's side. It's one of the most exciting times for hockey all around. Take in as much as you can, wherever you can. We'll be here to talk about our thoughts and opinions on all of the results and all the things that maybe have nothing to do with the results, like WAG jackets. If you want to stay in touch with us until we come back to the mic, don't forget you can follow us on social media. We are at 2_much_man on YouTube, Twitter, and Instagram. And on Blue Sky, you just replace those underscores with hyphens. For right now, we do have our merch site. For right now, it is Too Many Men .printful.me. We will update you when that has a new URL that allows for global ordering and shipping because everybody wants Too Many Men merch. And until we talk again, we ask you all to do something, no matter how big or small, to make sure that hockey truly is for everyone. We will talk to you soon.
Love you.
Bye.